And welcome, Rooster Roosters, to Rooster Rooster time. I'm the big guy, Scott Ferrara. That's Mike the Grand Poobah Parazzini. And man, I have had a week from hell, as Mikey knows. We were talking about it. The big guy was a little sick, unfortunately. Still recovering. Knock on wood, it's nothing bad, nothing COVID related. Just sometimes you get that stomach bug and it sticks with you, brother. Whew.
Yeah, I know that feeling. I had that a couple of weeks ago. It's zero fun. So hope you're feeling better.
Yeah, listen, I'm here.
Yeah.
That's what matters. Listen, we're here to talk about the match kicking off in about 29 minutes. It's Rooney at Toronto. This is a big match. Obviously, Toronto in fourth place behind us by 7 points. Toronto's holding a 6-5 record, while we hold a 7-4 record. Real quick, with the help of Doug Coyle and DJ Coyle Rugby.com, we're going to go through the squads. Let me go through the Toronto Arrows forwards. We have Lawani Falavaya at prop, Andrew Quatrin at hooker, Tyler Rowan at prop, Mike Shepard and Paul Cellini are your locks, Thomas De La Vega, Lucas Rumball are your flankers, and Roden Foley is your 8-man. Mikey, tell us about the backs.
You got Cole Brown at 9, Sam Malcolm at 10, Mitch Richardson at 11, Utua Tufaga at 12, Giuseppe Dutoit at 13, Matt Hood at 14, Gaston Mieres at 15.
And then rounding out their bench, you have Jack McRogers at 16, Cole Keith at 17, Isaac Salmon at 18, Adrian Wadden at 19, Saki Vikilani at 20, Reimer at 21, Will Kelly at 22, and Johnny Sheridan at 23. Kicking off our boys that are going to start off for the pack against Toronto are the Rugby New York boys. We got Chance Wengluski, Dylan Fawcett, and Kalolo Tuiloma rolling out your front row. Nate Brakely and Charlie Hewitt starting at your 4 and 5. Will Tucker, Brendan O'Connor at your flankers, and Kara Pryor rounding out your number 8.
And then for your backs, Andy Ellis has got the starting 9 spot. Jack Huyton moves to 10. Ed Fidao at 11. Jason Emery at 12. Fossey at 13. Andrew Coe back in the lineup at 14. And Sam Windsor is rounding out at 15.
Then looking at your bench here, you have Nick Mayhew at 16. Peter Reyes at 17. Zach Tuolafu at 18. Nick Chavetta, as we found out recently in the last match, at 19. Joe Basser at 20. Newly minted Rooster Antonio Kirikiri at 21. Connor Buckley at 22. And Quinn Nawadi at 23. Shout out to our buddy Petey Reyes. He was a 2021 draft pick coming in this year to get his first cap of the year here with Rudy. Good congratulations, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always good to for a guy we drafted, move on up, and then finally get that part, that spot in the match day 23. It's good to see, and good to see that we're developing these guys, and so congrats to Peter for making the starting 23.
Absolutely, and we see the familiar faces of Will Tucker and Andrew Coe coming back from their HIA assessments from it's been about a month. I'm glad to see that they've been cleared back. I mean, let's be honest, we've been kind of light on the wingers and the loose forwards. So it's good to see them back because we definitely need the reinforcements, Mikey.
Yeah, absolutely. Will has been such, a dominant force in that pack, moving in, moving, wheeling and dealing. So it's good to have him back. And then Andrew Coe, I mention his praises every single week. He's been great on the wing, super fast. He's got, that crossfield kick that we've got between, him and whoever's playing 10, usually at the, I think he's done it a bunch with Sam Windsor, but I don't know if he's done it with Jack as well. They've got that, that connection where they've got that crossfield kick, which has been great. And then, his blitz on, defense has been great, or he's intercepted or, made lightning, tackles that have been really slowed down the opposition's offense. So it's good to have him back.
Absolutely. It's great. And also, there was a meeting for the USA Eagles camp during the week in Houston. Chance, Dylan, Nate, Nick, and Ben were the 5 Roosters attending. All those guys were part of the 2019 World Cup squad, or excuse me, last year's 2020 international, 2021 international window. Guys, that's how far out of it I am. I don't even know what friggin' year we are right now. It's a little bit ridiculous, but anyway. So no new names from our roster going there. I know we had Charlie Hewitt be part of the 23 and under last year. So it's kind of interesting. I think he definitely has a chance to make that senior squad to get that first cap. But I don't know if that's how they want to roll with these 2 very important matches against Chile coming up, and then that match against the French Barbarians, who's kind of like a tune-up match for those guys. So I don't think they're going to want to change from what they have right now. But anyway, let's get back into the match here. So it looks like Toronto's made about 6 changes in the starters and 2 in the reserves since their loss 2 weeks ago against Houston. they lost to Houston, then they had their bye week last week. They're rolling in props. Keith and Salmon started at Houston. Falavai and Roland are now rotated into the starters. I believe this is Falavai's first start in the MLR. Thomas Vega returns from injury, and Lucas Rumball is shifting from the blind side to the open side with him coming back. Man, it's funny. This is gonna be a tough match, man. Listen, I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. The last time they came down, they kicked their butts in Hoboken. I believe they had something like 12 players on the injured list at the time. And I think what happened was, we came off a hot win, the match before that, against Dallas, I believe. Or no, I'm sorry. We came off the loss against New England. No, the win against San Diego.
The win against Nola Gold. We beat Nola Gold.
No. This was. I can't remember I'm all over the place already. Anyway, we came off a hot win, right? And we came home, and they were looking to right the ship from a New England loss here. Wanted to prove themselves at home, and you know what? They got punched in the mouth. They had a bunch of calls go their way, but if you win by 50, those calls don't matter. So you can't talk about the calls that didn't happen. You can mention it, but that's not why we lost. I think there's a grit that this team has found since the loss to LA, and I know it didn't result in a win against New England this last time we played New England, but New England's starting to show cracks in the shell. I mean, OGs played them hard. OGs were leading twice last night against New England, and almost came back for a win. So New England's showing cracks. We're showing some good resolve. We had a good win against NOLA last week. Again, the second half, our tackling was a little bit lackadaisical compared to the first half. But I truly believe, NOLA is one of those teams. It's hard they have the talent on the field, and right now they just are playing for pride, and they're a dangerous opponent. Toronto's playing for something. They're a dangerous opponent, and they're playing for something. This scares me, Mike. This really, really scares me.
Absolutely. I'm looking at, thanks to DJ Coil Rugby. Yeah, it looks like we went down to NOLA. We had that win down in NOLA, and then we came back to Hoboken and lost to Toronto. So
that's what it was.
Both games. Week before Toronto, we're playing NOLA, which is a little weird. Okay. Let's hope that we don't make the same mistakes that we made against NOLA that we do, hopefully this week, like I said, or like you said, tackles were looking a little iffy at times. We were running up the score real well in the first half, and then that second half, it seemed like, we kind of took our foot off the gas a little bit, and NOLA took advantage of that, with some great runs and some great tries. Definitely, we've got to secure, the around the ruck on defense. That's going to be, I think, key. We know how Toronto likes, pick the ball up and hit that, that A gap, that guard dog. And so we have to be the ones. You have to make sure that we got someone there first, and then I think just make sure that we're firing up on defense. The one thing that we do incredibly well seems to be firing up on defense, and we continue to push teams back. And if we do that, hopefully we could frustrate Toronto, suffocate their offense, and cause a turnover either through a penalty or through an interception, knock on, something like that.
I think the other big thing we need to do here is not give up on plays. It seems as though when there's knocks or penalties awarded to the other quick taps happen, and that's when those advantage plays, big chunks of yardage were given to NOLA last week, because we kind of gave up when there was a knock-on call, and while it was a knock-on call against us, NOLA had the ball in hand, so they're going to get advantage. They're going to be the referee's going to let them play on at that point. So we have to make sure that even though you cause the knock-on, or you're near the knock-on and you're disappointed at the knock-on, that shouldn't knock you out of your rhythm of playing defense. Here we go. We need to set the pace, the game at our pace, and that's something that I think me and Mike have been talking about, where we still have yet to see. I'm waiting for these videos to show up in Marty Veal's page at some point, or whoever, Marty Bork. He's running the offense, I believe, to stop going with passing for the forwards and making the forwards pick and go. I truly believe we're stalling momentum on guys like KT and Chance and Dylan and all pretty much 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 player numbers 1 through 5 when they're waiting for them to get the ball in hand from a pass, no matter how short the pass. And I know that's part of the game, but I do believe we have this momentum that we can pick up when they're just picking and going right away and picking and going right away, and the defense isn't set and the defense isn't organized. And they're not manning up on people, and they're not manning up on the gap. You have that chance to just slip through, and that's where we saw Dylan Fawcett really excel in his offensive game, where he's picking the ball at the breakdown. The defense isn't organized. Now all of a sudden he's on a break with both centers to his right and his left, and now he he can make a play on either side, wherever the defense is not. So I mean, we Mikey have been saying that we think that's our pace, and while we understand when they want to play champagne rugby, sometimes you gotta get down and dirty, and sometimes you gotta grind them out a little bit and make them wear the other team down. Because if you're playing a team that a team that plays the same style as you at champagne open style rugby, how do you combat that? How did we combat that against LA last year? We ground them down. We just kept twisting and kept twisting and kept twisting until finally they locked up and they couldn't do anything.
Yeah, it just has to, yeah, like you said, down, dirty rugby means, securing rucks. It's just I think down dirty rugby is just really fundamental rugby. Securing rucks, making sure we're getting there. An offload here and there is fine. Especially if we're going down, we extend a play maybe between forwards, but there's nothing wrong with running a forward against maybe an inside center when you see an inside center lined up against somebody in at guard dog or post. Like it's just gonna it has to be like heads up rugby. Seeing where the advantages are instead of just trying to do those set plays. Because I think a few times last week that's where we got caught, where we're like, all right, we've done the few phases, let's send it out to the backs, and Nola was waiting right for us, and our offense would stall to a grind. And so I think it just has to be a little bit more heads up, seeing where they've got us lined up. When we do it beautifully. We do get those beautiful crossfield kicks when we see that no one's covering. We get some of those great runs and great plays when we see that no one's there, in the A gap in the guard dog. It just has to be, we have to be able to see it, and instead of being robotic. And
one thing on defense, I think we got lackadaisical on was giving credence to guys like Devin Short last week. And you have guys like De La Vega and Rumball who are going to be out as flankers on those wings, providing the support, and can take off at a pace that is very quick and very fast. And we might not be able to match them in pace. Will Tucker's not the fastest guy in the world, right? Neither is Brendan O'Connor, but you have to know on defense, be honest and say they're going to throw it out there. Their support on that wing is going to be big and fast. Make sure you match up a little bit better with them. I think we need to see that more from the defense, because that's something that Devin Short was killing us. And luckily, we held him in check most of the time. I think he knocked down one time. Again, Devin Short coming up the middle we had some big hits on Devin Short. One, I believe KT just lambasted him, and that slowed him down a tad, which helped us out on the outside when he did try and break loose. I believe he was a step slower because of some of those big hits.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has to be, the guys on, the backs on defense calling for help, seeing that they're, there's one of these things is not like the other. There's a forward, amongst them. Let's see if we can pull someone out to help out a little bit. And that unfortunately has got to be, Brendan O'Connor, Will Tucker, Kara Pryor, listening in. They've all stepped up on defense this year. So it's not like that, this isn't going to be out of the norm for them, but, moving them out, matching up, making sure that, some of these loose forwards that can run with the ball aren't, taking advantage of our backs.
Absolutely. It's hard to say what's going to happen at this match. Yep. Weird match time for us. It's like, noon in Canada. I almost said Canada. That's how I almost said Canadian. Jesus Christ, Scott. Noon in Canada. We're used to playing 3 p.m. or West Coast times, when we're out there, or night, or afternoon. So it's I think it might be tough for some guys to get their preparedness together 3 hours earlier. It's just something that you've been doing, for the past couple of weeks, where you've hit that time frame all the time, no matter kind of where you were. So this might be a little bit difficult. We've seen that where we got slow off the ball. I wonder if Toronto's going to be as fast off the ball. It seems to be a thing in the MLR. People coming off. Bye weeks are sluggish. Don't know why. Just it's weird to me. You finally get a week's rest and an extra week's
Yeah.
rest, and you figure you can come in fresh for it. But
it almost like throws off the timing
rhythm,
and the rhythm and
yeah.
everything like that.
I think so. The one guy notably absent from the 23, Waisaki Naholo. He joined practice on Friday, and I think me and Mike were talking about this before the show. And I think it's just this is a must-win game. We need a bonus point as well. Let's be honest. We need the bonus, but we need 5-point wins from here on out. And why do you want to mess with your flow of Eddie, Jason, Fossey, and Andrew being your starting four for the start, since the beginning of the season, right? Andrew coming back. Obviously, he was practicing all week this week. If Waisaki just started practicing on Friday due to whatever issues that were there, why kind of throw a wrench into what was working? So I think that's more why we're not seeing him there. I think if we're a different situation, if we were maybe either number one or number two, or we were bottom of the barrel, you would see him thrown in today. Anthony Kirikiri announced last week or the week, right? Yeah, announced last week. But I believe he came in the Friday before. So we had a full week's worth of practice. And let's be honest, you also have Joe Basser in there as cover for Jesus Christ, for loose forwards. And Joe Basser, as we saw, could also play 4 and 5 if we need him to. So I think throwing in Anthony Kirikiri in the reserve is a good thing. Obviously, he can always come in his injury cover, but I think those last 20 minutes, Will Tucker comes out, Anthony Kirikiri comes in, and all of a sudden it's we have those fresh legs, from this new Cornish pirate.
Yeah, I think this bench is interesting because you've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6-2.
Yes, 6-2, which is so that means you're looking at Jack Hyten probably playing full game.
Mm-hmm.
You've maybe Sam playing the full game as well.
I could see Quinn coming in for Bossy.
Yeah, that's Jason. You've got Quinn could play either center or wing, so that's there.
It depends.
Connor coming in at 9. Maybe you move, Andy out to 10, and then you move Jack to 15.
We've seen Jack play. Yeah. We've seen Jack play full matches. So you have a couple moves here. You can do Andy to 10, Jack to 15, Sam out. You could do Andy to 10, Jack out. You could do Andy out. You could do Quinn in for Andrew Coe. Andrew bumps Sam out at 15. So it's weird that you have it, but you have it for a reason. Here we go. Joe Basser is a star. There we go. I love Joey. He's great. Great young player here. He excels here. I mean, he's learning from guys like Will Tucker and Brendan O'Connor and Kara Pryor and now Anthony Kirikiri. And he's, if he needs to get in at lock, he learns from guys like, Nate Brakely and Nick Chavetta. So, I mean, if I was Joe Basser, I don't think I want to be in any other place right now, especially since he's been cracking the lineup, or at least a 23 every match. But yeah, I think it's interesting going with the 6-2 split, but I also think that means there's going to be a lot of movement up front as far as having the ball in hand. I think this might be the grinder game we've been hoping for. The question is, where does our boy Petey Reyes play? Because Petey is a very small prop compared to the other props that we have here. Although Nick Mayhew is about 5.5 feet tall by 5 feet 10 inches wide. So honestly, if you threw them both in there as props, you could actually do a decent front row. Not to knock on Nick Mayhew, but out of all of our props, he is the shortest. And Pete is a little bit taller. But it would make sense. But honestly, I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Kalolo come out, KT comes out, Nick comes in, and then maybe depending on the last 20 minutes of where the game is, maybe you see Butch come out and then Petey Reyes get his first cap in the MLR. So,
yeah, it's interesting all the different combinations that you could do with this bench right now, and there's something in mind that they have. It's just wondering will this work today? They're clearly, I think they're expecting a lot of forward attrition. Just you can clearly see just the number of forwards that we have on the bench, and so they're expecting a big battle up front. Hopefully our pack could absorb it and take it to them.
Yeah, Toronto on the other hand is a little more even, I believe, with their splits. Which is I think they're just going to try and bounce us as much as we can to the outside, and that's where our tackling is going to have to remain strong, like they did last week. Listen, again, you don't need to make these big hits as a back. You just need to make one and done tackles.
Yep.
Make the contact, hold the contact, bring them to the ground, let the other person come in and either jackal or counter ruck. And like we said, it doesn't always have to win the ball. Sometimes those counter rucks are going to throw the ball or throw the person off that's in the back of that breakdown, passing the ball or mess up their decision making or mess up their box kick or whatever have you. Maybe they throw a pass over the 10's head that bounces in. Fidel comes in and grabs it. Who knows? All right, Mikey. Let's talk about your score. What do you think? What's going on?
I am sticking with it. I'm going Rugby New York by 3. I think we grind this one out. I think we have a good game. It's going to be close again.
Yeah,
but it's going to be a grinder.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Jason, Rugby New York by 4. That's an interesting score, but we've seen four spots get put up there. I'm sticking with my Rugby by 5. Rugby New York by 5. And for those viewers watching in the United States, it's live on TRN in about 9 minutes. If you're watching in Canada, it is live on TSN. Sometimes what I've been told by my Canadian friends who watch the Arrows, you have to go to the website. It's like TSN Plus first before it may get on the regular broadcast, depending on what's on before it. So if you don't see it on the actual television on TSN, check your TSN Plus account for the match. Internationally, it's free on TRN outside North America. Mikey, I think we're done and dusted here. Let's go, Rooney.
Yeah.
Let's get that 5-point bonus win, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.